Unlike other forms of sexual violence, marital rape occurs in a relationship traditionally perceived as intimate and consensual by default. The crux of the debate in India hinges on whether marital rape should be criminalized in the same way as other forms of rape. This question sits at the intersection of legal recognition, human rights, and societal norms. In India, the legal framework currently does not recognize marital rape as a criminal offense. Now, there are arguments for and against criminalization of marital rape. On the one side, proponents argue that failing to criminalize marital rape denies married women the same protection afforded to others, undermining their autonomy and equality before the law. On the other, the government contends that labeling such acts as rape within marriage is excessively harsh and could disrupt the institution of marriage, suggesting that existing laws suffice to address violations of consent between spouses. In the Karnataka High Court in 2022, a landmark decision unfolded as Justice Nagaprasanna declared the marital rape exception in the India's legal system to be regressive and violative of the right to equality. The case centered around a woman who accused her husband of rape and other offences, a bold move that challenged long-held legal norms and ignited a nationwide debate on the sanctity of marriage versus individual rights. Marital rape refers to non-consensual sexual acts committed by a spouse against their partner within the bounds of marriage. Unlike other forms of sexual violence, marital rape occurs in a relationship traditionally perceived as intimate and consensual by default. This distinction has historically led to legal systems worldwide grappling with whether to criminalize such acts, often balancing the preservation of marital unity against the protection of individual autonomy and bodily integrity. The crux of the debate in India hinges on whether marital rape should be criminalized in the same way as other forms of rape. This question sits at the intersection of legal recognition, human rights, and societal norms. On the one side, proponents argue that failing to criminalize marital rape denies married women the same protection afforded to others, undermining their autonomy and equality before the law. On the other, the government contends that labeling such acts as rape within marriage is excessively harsh and could disrupt the institution of marriage, suggesting that existing laws suffice to address violations of consent between spouses. In India, the legal framework currently does not recognize marital rape as a criminal offense. Section 63 of the Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita, or BNS for short, defines rape, includes an exception clause stating that sexual intercourse by a man with his own wife, provided she is over 18 years of age, is not rape. Under the erstwhile Indian Penal Code, the exception stated that sexual intercourse or sexual acts by a man with his own wife are not considered rape if the wife is not under 15 years of age. Under BNS, any sexual activity by a man with his wife who is under 18 years old is considered rape, thereby aligning the marital age of consent with the general legal age of consent. The change reflects a shift towards greater protection of minors within marriage, acknowledging that consent cannot be legally given by individuals under 18 even within the context of marriage. This marital rape exception presumes automatic consent within marriage, effectively denying married women the legal recourse available to others in case of non-consensual sex. Indian courts have historically viewed sexual relationships within marriage as a marital duty. Refusal to engage in sexual activity without a valid reason has often been construed as mental cruelty, providing grounds for divorce under family laws. This perspective reinforces the notion that consent is inherent in a marriage, undermining a woman's autonomy over her own body. Attempts to challenge this legal stance have faced resistance. The Justice Verma Committee in 2013 recommended criminalizing marital rape, but those suggestions were not incorporated into law. In 2022, the Delhi High Court delivered a split verdict on the constitutionality of the marital rape exception, highlighting the ongoing legal debate. The Supreme Court of India is currently hearing petitions on this matter, signaling a potential shift in the legal approach to marital rape. Globally, there has been significant movement towards recognizing marital rape as a crime. Many countries have abolished legal exceptions that previously protected spouses from rape charges, acknowledging that consent cannot be presumed within marriage. Nations like the United Kingdom and South Africa have criminalized marital rape, affirming that all individuals, including spouses, have the right to bodily autonomy regardless of their marital status. Now, there are arguments for and against criminalization of marital rape. Let's consider the arguments for criminalization. From an ethical standpoint, criminalizing marital rape is essential for recognizing and respecting individual autonomy and human rights. Marriage should not be construed as a blanket consent to sexual activity. Rather, it should be viewed as a partnership based on mutual respect and consent. Socially, the criminalization of marital rape can catalyze the significant shift in societal attitudes towards marriage and consent. It challenges the entrenched belief that marriage grants men an entitlement to sexual access, thereby promoting gender equality and the respect for personal autonomy. Legal recognition of marital rape can empower victims to speak out and seek justice, reducing the stigma associated with reporting such incidents. This shift can lead to increased awareness and education about consent, fostering a culture that values mutual respect and equality in relationships. Whilst there are series of arguments against this proposition as well, one of the many primary arguments against criminalization of marital rape is the deeply ingrained cultural belief that marriage is a sacred institution. Many proponents of this view argue that the concept of marital rape contradicts traditional values that emphasize the sanctity of marriage and the roles of spouses within it. In many societies, including India, marriage is often seen as a union that entails certain obligations, including sexual relations. Critics argue that imposing the Western notions of marital rape may not be suitable to the Indian society, where cultural norms and values differ significantly. They contend that such legislation would disrupt familial structures and societal harmony, as it challenges the long-standing belief about marital roles and responsibilities. The affidavit filed by the central government also has been on similar lines in the litigation pending in the Supreme Court. Viewed from a legal perspective, opponents argue that criminalizing marital rape could lead to misuse of the law, potentially resulting in false accusations. Concerns have been raised that such laws might empower one gender over another, including a situation where men could be unjustly accused and harassed under the guise of the legal protection. The existing legal framework already provides remedies for domestic violence and abuse, such as Section 498A of the erstwhile Indian Penal Code and the Protection of Women from Domestic Violence Act of 2005. It is therefore argued that these laws are sufficient to address issues of violence within marriage without the need for adding criminalization of marital rape. The constitutional role of a state in ensuring protection of its citizens encompasses not only public but also private spaces such as the marital home. Article 21 of the Constitution of India guarantees the right to life and personal liberty, which has been expansively interpreted by the Supreme Court of India to include the right to live with human dignity and to be free from all forms of violence, including those occurring within private spaces like marriage. This interpretation was further reinforced in the landmark case of Puttaswamy in 2017, where the right to privacy was declared a fundamental right under Article 21. Thus, the state's constitutional duties are not restricted to public safety but extend deeply into the realms of private life, ensuring that personal safety and dignity are maintained at all settings, including within the marital context. This progressive interpretation by the judiciary acts as a directive for the state to create and enforce laws that protect against all forms of violence, thereby fulfilling the constitutional responsibilities. In this case, the Supreme Court decriminalized adultery, emphasizing that the law that treats a husband as a master of his wife is unconstitutional. The judgment, while not directly addressing marital rape, has implications for the autonomy and agency of married women, reinforcing the notion that consent and personal liberty are paramount even within the bounds of marriage. The petition in a recent case before the Delhi High Court challenged the exemption of marital rape under Section 375 of the IPC with a similar exemption in BNS as well. The petitioners argued that this exemption violates the Constitution of India's guarantee of equality and non-discrimination and the right to life and personal liberty enshrined in Article 21. The Delhi High Court unfortunately delivered a split verdict, and the issue of marital rape is now being considered by the Supreme Court of India. The decision of the Supreme Court is highly anticipated as it has the potential to significantly reshape the legal landscape regarding marital rape in India. The Government of India has officially opposed the criminalization of marital rape in the Supreme Court. Making marital rape a crime is not just about changing a law, it's about transforming societal attitudes. It emphasizes that marriage should be an equal partnership where both people agree on their physical relationship. Moving forward with this change is valid for promoting gender equality, respecting personal dignity, and upholding the constitutional values at the heart of the Indian democracy. The choices made in addressing this issue will greatly influence justice and the protection of rights of everyone in this country.